How am I supposed to interpret this Russia thing? So, this particular video clip was created on February 24th at 6:53 p.m. Central Standard Time. And what happened earlier this morning is we woke up to the announcement that Russia was invading Ukraine. And it's been a long day. If you've been looking at social media and other news outlets, it's just kind of very, very surreal. And so, how do we interpret all of this? What do we do about all this stuff? So, before I start throwing a whole bunch of stuff at you, let me again give all the caveats because we break these clips up and they go out into the internet. And so this clip may not be in context of everything that we just talked about. And so I want to make sure to put it in the clip itself that I am a psychiatrist. I am not your psychiatrist. Additionally, I'm not a anthropological sociologist that is well versed in World War II, III, or otherwise. That is not what I do. I did not do a psychiatric or psychological evaluation on any of the world leaders. And so I cannot speak to their mental health or the state that they're in. So those are all the big things. So keep everything I'm about to say in context. So how do we interpret what just happened? So one of the interesting things about human beings is that we love structure. We love it. We thrive off of structure. We thrive off of consistency. So imagine if you showed up to work and your boss is like, "Hey, I just want to let you know I don't know when you're going to get paid. I don't know what hours you're supposed to be working or what you're supposed to be doing, but I'll let you know when I let you know." And then they just walked away. How would that feel? Probably chaotic. And you'd be like, that's not how this is supposed to work. You're supposed to tell me what I'm supposed to do, give me some boundaries and some structure, as well as incentives so that I can do my job and go home. And so knowing that human beings thrive in structure and consistency, this whole Russia thing has been very inconsistent. And over the last, I don't know, year or two, well, probably even before that, because with the previous administration, there was a whole bunch of like Ukrainian stuff going on. And we were like, I don't get this. I don't understand. And then for lots of other folks, since the fall of the Soviet Union, there's been a lot of, I don't really understand, like, what is Russia? What is their end goal? And so fast forward to today or the last few days, none of this has made sense. And so the question is, for me has been, wait, how do I make sense of this? How do I interpret this? Because we have a guy who has a country that has their own issues. They're not like some super well organized power. And, there's lots of the quality of life there isn't all of that great. I mean, there's some pockets if you have money. So, the wealthy are doing fine. But, in general, there's something to all of this stuff. And then they start a war with a country that is a sovereign country that has like borders and a functioning government. And this is, right? So, and then you throw in, how do we take that into context when we we're half a world away. And I mean, we have our own issues that we're dealing with, and there's this pandemic, and how do we? And we're already tired, so we're super fatigued from all of that, and infighting ourselves. And how do I then process that there is a major war with people dying and having to leave their houses, and what do I do with that? And so there's a psychological term called defense mechanisms, and a defense mechanism is a set of skills that you use in stressful situations. And generally, we subdivide those two groups into mature defense mechanisms and immature defense mechanisms. So an immature defense mechanism is a skill that's actually not all that helpful, and most times is not conscious. It is unconscious. Whereas mature defense mechanisms most times are helpful and are conscious. And so an example of a mature defense mechanism is humor, right? So making a joke out of something. Something awful happens, you find a way to make a joke in a very appropriate way, not like a ridiculous, awful way that gets you almost kicked off of Spotify. Again, a whole other podcast. But Yeah, so that is a mature defense mechanism. Humor. Altruism, which is where you go and donate blood, you go and give money. That's a mature defense mechanism. An immature defense mechanism. Another one is suppression, where you feel something, you're like, oh my God, this feels horrible. And then you choose not to act on it. You go, you know what? I'm going to tamp that down because I need to get through my day. Those are mature defense mechanisms. Immature defense mechanisms include things like denial, like, that didn't really happen, or repression, which is like, nope, nothing is happening. Like, oh, I see that, there's people getting bombed, but I'm just going to choose to ignore that. Well, that's weird. So not even weird, it's just very unhelpful. And so ideally, you want to, as an adult in a society, in a responsible society, you really, really want to use more mature defense mechanisms, because that's how we grow and that's how we survive really stressful things. And so that's what most of us were doing today, myself included. I saw what was happening and I was like, I still have to see patients. And so I suppressed that so that I could deal with the concerns of my patients. And so I said, I'm going to turn off the news feed. I'm going to reset, focus on what I'm doing with this person who's in front of me. And then when I'm done with that, I can go back and catch up on what's going on. And so I would suppress that in the moment so that I can get through the day. Again, mature defense mechanism. I didn't use any humor because I don't think anything about this whole thing is funny. And so I didn't use that one. And then altruism, which is I made a concerted effort to go and give of my time and expertise. So I literally talked with a medical student and give them career advice and that sort of thing, even though, again, I'm like distracted and really kind of consumed with what's going on over there. Unfortunately, we have a whole bunch of people using the immature defense mechanisms. And so when I see people praising the president of Russia, that doesn't make any sense to me. And that to me is like frank denial of something bad happening, and then repression. So they're repressing these feelings that they again, generally it's unconscious. And so they're just like, well, I think one guy said something like, oh, Russia needs farmland, so they need to, go and find more farmland, which, and I know doesn't make a lick of sense. But, it gets headlines. And unfortunately, a lie travels halfway around the world before the truth gets its pants on, or something like that, is the saying. And so, so how do you deal with all that? How do we interpret all of this? So me personally, I interpret it as we have to be very diligent with bad information. We have to pay attention. We have to sit in this uncomfortableness. We have to hold space for people that either don't have the power to, or don't have the space or the resources to. We have to hold our elected officials accountable. We have to hold ourselves accountable. We have to be responsible with our time and our intent, our tone and our energies. All of this stuff is important, and and then connect with one another. And so when I got on for tonight, I connected with Eli and we touched base. How are you feeling? I'm feeling this. You're feeling this. Okay. All right. Let me touch base with my family. Let me touch base with my friends. And we're texting and processing. And it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to be really pissed off. It's okay to say, you know what? I can't, I'm working a full-time job. I'm in the ER. I'm running this assembly line. I cannot give bandwidth and energy to this crisis that I can't control until the weekend, or, until 2 weeks from now, or, that's okay. Because there are other people who can, and they have the bandwidth, and they can, and they can pick up the responsibility and the mantra. The key is do what you can with what you got where you are. And if you can do a little bit more, to whom much is given, much is expected. If you can't give, then that's okay. Other folks will step up. The key is that you at least try, or that you're considering it, that you keep it top of mind. Because the bullies of the world are hoping you'll forget. The bullies of the world are hoping that you will use those immature defense mechanisms and be in denial like they are. Oh, this isn't a problem, or to repress things, um, or to project things onto other people. That's not me, it's you, right? That's what they're hoping. And the best way to defeat that kind of nonsense is to hold yourself accountable, learn about yourself. That's where therapy is very helpful. That's why we always talk about you should have a therapist so that you can learn more about yourself and the other people around you. But it also makes us a much stronger society when we're all accountable for our own stuff. And so, how to interpret today is one way. Tomorrow, when you wake up, there's going to be a different story and you can interpret it a different way. And on Saturday, probably even different. Just keep those folks in your thoughts, keep them in your prayers, keep them, more importantly, in my opinion, keep them in your votes. And so when you go to vote, again, this particular video clip is being done during the primaries in Texas in early 2022. And so make sure you go and vote and once you vote, you have to make sure that you hold accountable the people that you vote for. Call them up, email them and say, I voted for you because of this, and I'm going to hold you to it, so that they know that you're there and present. And so I just hope everybody is safe. And if you have family in that region, again, we're sending you best wishes and all of the positive energy that we can muster. Yeah.